So again, we mentioned before how, how we can make a new sequence. Let's say right now notice I get V3, V1, V2, V3. Remember if you're bringing things on V2, I just drag just like with Final with Avid, just drag your V1 to V2 and then when you insert this clip down, and I insert this clip, and I'm going to bring my A1 is now going to be A2, and I insert this clip down. Well, let me go to the beginning of my timeline here, and I turn V2 on, turn that off, and I insert it on. Notice it, and still moving things down. I don't want to move things down, so let me just lock these tracks where nothing moves. Insert it down, there it is. So notice you really have to be aware at all times where you're placing things on the timeline, what's selected, what's highlighted. Always be aware of what tracks are on, what tracks are locked, and where you're placing clips by these A1, V1 buttons. Those are your master control. Like say they're a master like on an audio board. Where do you want your master to be? Do you want it on V1, V2, V3? Do you want it to be on A1, A2, A3, A4? Where do you want your master to really be? Um, how do you add, tracks where it says sequence on the top here? If you go to right over here where you have your sequence settings, which is really really important here. Um, that you always want to check. You always want to make sure your sequence settings are in a good spot right here. But you have all the way on the bottom here. You have add tracks, and so it's going to ask you how do you want to add one track? Let's add one video track. Do you want to add how many audio tracks you want to make? I'll just add one. And you want it to be in stereo, you do. Placement after video 3, perfect. Hit OK, and now we have a V4, and we made another audio track, and we have an A5. So that's very simply how you add more tracks, especially as your timeline grows. How do you make subclips? Let me grab a clip here, and then I'll make an in point and out point at a certain point here. Maybe I'll do it right as about when they walk up to the ledge here and they look out. So I just want that portion. The beginning stuff I'm not going to use for my video. I'm just going to use the part where they stand on top of it. So now I made my in and out point on my source. Now on the top here I have an option for clip, and it says make subclip, and the shortcut's Command U. If I press that, I'm going to just title it subclip 1. Hit OK, and now it's my in my bin where that I had open, and there it is, just as about they walk the ledge. So maybe I want to make a new bin here. I'll control click, make a new bin. I'll call it subclips, and I'm going to drag that one clip into the subclip folder, and there it is, and that's where I can put the rest of my subclips. So subclips are pretty helpful to use as we've discussed in class. How do I want to replace a clip? Maybe I want to control click on a clip here. This one, we're just seeing a street, nothing really much here. Or does he jump there? See where there's one where there's not much action here. I'll do this one where there's not really much going on. Let's control click right on this clip here. And let's go with replace with clip. I can replace clip from the source monitor. So I have that subclip in the source. Let's replace it with that one. So let's click that, and notice it replaced that clip in there, but notice it kept the same length. So now I have a black screen after because it didn't delete the length of that clip. It just replaced it with what I wanted it to. So that's important to know if you do a replace clip edit on the timeline. Of course, we have some color tools that end up always happening. Two color tools that are really important is the color correction that everybody's going to want to do. And the great thing about effects in Premiere Pro is that you can just type it in here in the search and it'll come up instead of just hitting all the buttons. So I'm just going to type in color correction here, and notice a million come up in the folder. So say if there's one that you want to do. So I'm going to type in tint, for example. And there it is. It's under color correction. I'm just going to drag it. Let me find a clip here that I want to drag it to. I'll do it to this one, and I'm going to drag it right on top of it. And notice it already went to black, got a little darker. So if I double click on this clip, and I already see that tint happen, and I go into Effect Controls, I can use the eyedropper, or I can type in the amount, but notice the amount of tint is at 100%. Maybe I want to make it a little bit less of a tint. I'll go down to like 30. See, I get some color in there. It's not as fully like where 100% it made it black and white almost. I want to see, I could see some color in the building, but it's still a little bit of a tint where it's dark. Now, if I go to 100%, see how it's black and white again? But if I just lower that tint a little bit, we have some color and it's dark on like the white buildings here and where our young gentleman is making the jump. Now there is a black and white effect. Now if I just click on this tint where I went to Effect Controls and I delete that tint, that effect is gone. I'm back to normal here. And I just type in the effect, black and white. There it is, black and white. I drag that on top of this clip. There it is. It already went black and white. And if I go to Effects Controls, you can make some adjustment with the eyedropper and stuff, but it will just make that entire clip black and white. Command Z to take it off, and that's, again, you start on some effects and color correction.